So that's how they go on, and then the ignorant people in ISKCON say, oh yeah, so no matter what they do, they're a guru. We have to go along with that because they're getting this bad advice, Sridhar, Narayan, and the GBC. Now a lot of people tell me Bhakti Vikas is a good guy. No, wait a minute. No, Bhakti Vikas was in England when I was in England, and he was saying we need to keep Jayatirtha even though Jayatirtha's having sex, taking drugs. He said, no, the GBC says Jayatirtha is a guru, he's a guru. No. Krishna is the person who tells us who is a guru. Krishna empowers the guru. You do not empower the guru. You are not Krishna. Krishna dictates to the guru, and that's how the guru is empowered. You do not dictate to the guru. And that's what I told Bhakti Vikas way back then. I said, hey, you can't have this going on. You can't allow sex and drugs in the Vyasa-san. That's not what Prabhupada wants. Yeah, but the GBC says it's okay, so it's okay. No, the GBC can't. The GBC has no authority to do this. The only person who is authorized to empower the guru is Krishna. That's our parampara system. The guru, it's a descending process. It comes down from Krishna to the guru. It doesn't go up from the GBC up to Krishna. That is not the system. It's handed down from one pure devotee to the next. It is not made by the GBC and then handed up to Krishna. So they misunderstood the whole parampara principle. So no, Bhakti Vikas is... Basu Ghosh is good friends with Bhakti Vikas, and they're connected together. And Basu Ghosh is a big promoter of Lokanath right now. So Bhakti Vikas is still with the Lokanath program. He's with that group. So he's going against all these people. There's thousands of people who want to get rid of Lokanath, and Bhakti Vikas is saying, no, he's a guru. Why is he a guru? Because the GBC says he's a guru. Yeah, but the GBC said sex with taxi drivers is a guru. So the GBC says taking LSD is guru. So how can we rely on the GBC for information? Well, the disciples who have been molested, they're victims. They are victims, and what can they do? I don't know. It's very hard for victimized people to stand up and take on a big organization, especially when the parents are not helping. The parents of these children did not help. The parents were against me for the most part. So individual victims don't usually come out strongly without support. That's the problem. And that's why I was talking about this Nixvium cult, where these ladies were being exploited. One of the ladies wants to break out of the group, and the other ladies jump all over her and try to take her down, because, it's very difficult for people in a cult to break out of the cult. So Stockholm Syndrome, all that stuff applies. So yeah, we can't rely on the victims, we can't rely on the parents, we can't rely on the GBC. We can only rely on our own efforts, really. We're going to have to fight them as best we can on our own. Is molesting still going on? I would say yes. I don't see how it's been ever put under control. Bhavananda, Nitai Chand, Satyadanya, Danudar, all these people are still hanging around Mayapur. I don't see how it's been ever put under control. So I would say it probably still goes on. Yeah, I would think so. And there's a whole bunch of women in Russia who wrote some paper about a year ago. I put it on my blog, where ladies are being exploited. Ladies are being, sexually abused in ISKCON, and that the leaders aren't doing anything about it. So it's the same thing. If the leaders are exploiting the followers, it's the same as child molesting. It's the same as pedophile sex. And the GBC has no control over these exploitations. They don't even try to control it. They just try to cover it up and move everything along, like with Lokanath. They just one thing after another, just every trick they can come up with to keep Lokanath in the guru seat. And that's because Lokanath has money. He has followers who have money. They're donating money. Also in America, it's probably not as bad in America because a lot of people in America are watching this whole thing. They have to be more careful in America. But it may be going on in America. Who can say? There's no absolute control over any of this stuff anywhere. Who are you going to write to? If there's a problem with the GBC in America or in India or anywhere, who do you call? Are you going to call Bhakti Vikas? No. Are you going to call Jai Pataka? No. Are you going to call Rabinder Sarup? No. Who do you actually contact if there is a problem in America or in India or anywhere? There is nobody. They don't have any structure to deal with exploitation. If somebody is exploited, where are they going to go in ISKCON? So this is a big problem. There's no checks and balances, and there never has been any. And anybody who tries to check things, like me, is booted out the door and is maybe beaten up or maybe killed or maybe whatever. So they don't allow whistleblowers to expose things. Anybody who's exposing is the enemy, is the Ritvik, is a deviant, is an offender, is a blasphemer, and they keep it under control by artificial means, by artificially juggling things around. How can we expose them? Well, we can just do what we're doing. I have my websites. Other people are making websites. We have this lady, Saraswati, on Facebook. She started a whole forum to expose Lokanath. And she's just a young mother. She's like 35-year-old mother with her own little children. And she started this forum, and she really raised a lot of hell. I mean, they really don't like this lady. They've mentioned her name by name. So she's just one person who started, exposing them. So our best, what's that?
Aren't they attacking her, the GBC?
Oh yeah. Her. Oh yeah. They're attacking her by name. They're naming her by name. She's a troublemaker. So she's one person, I'm one person. So we need to unite together. And even though they're a powerful organization, if we unite together, enough of us, we can overturn them. I mean, it's like Ukraine. Ukraine, is fighting this giant Russia, but they're very determined. They're a very small group, but they're very determined, and they're organized. They're small, but they're organized. And that's how they're overturning Russia, even though Russia is 200 times bigger than they are. So it shows the strength. If a small group really sticks together, gets organized, and we help the Saraswati lady, and we expose them, collectively, together, we can have an impact.
What's the update with the Russian devotees? Are there Ukraine devotees? Any update there?
Well, they're having a big problem with the Russia and Ukraine devotees right now, because different ISKCON gurus have taken different sides in this battle, and so they're trying not to comment now. Like Indradyumna came to America, and he's just trying to avoid the whole thing right now, because he made a few statements, he got into trouble. It's a mess for them, because that was their biggest zone, really. Ukraine and Russia was their biggest zone, and they're not gonna be able to expand there, at least for the time being. So it's really hit them hard, because they were getting a lot of money from Russian devotees coming to Mayapur, paying $500 a week for some classes and all this kind of stuff. If we win case in America, well, I don't know. If we win a case, how big will that case be? How much impact will it have? I'm not sure. All we can do is win little battles. That's how Ukraine is winning. They're winning a little thing here and a little thing. They take a little village here, a little village there, and that's how we're going to win. We're going to win by taking 2 of their people from here and 2 of their people from there, and convincing a few people here and there, and that's it. And that's why I'm going to the media, to the television, because I'm going to expose them. And if I can't be part of that, I can't. Well, yeah, India media. I'm surprised the India media. Why has no one gone to the Indian media? I mean, I've been interviewed dozens of times in America, and why weren't people interviewed in India? I don't know, but yeah.
Well, in India, the problem is ISKCON Bangalore is the only Ritvik here, and they are not aggressively pushing the poison case. They are not aggressively pushing so many other things. So what will they speak? They are only pushing their temple management case. So they are not involved in any other cases.
Well, in America, the media has just come to me, period. They don't care about Bangalore. They don't care about ISKCON. They just come. They know that I protested, and they just come after me. Do I have security? Well, I don't worry about it. Yeah, they would kill Prabhupada. They would kill me. Yeah, but if they kill me, that's going to be the end of them, because then I have hundreds and hundreds of friends. They will all call the FBI. It will finish them off. So they can't risk. They would have taken me out already a long time ago if they thought it would work. They know it's not going to work. It's going to backfire. Yeah, I don't worry about my security. But the police around here are friendly with me. They know me. And the police would be all over this even if I got killed by accident, if a stray bullet, shot me, they would be blamed, for that. So yeah, I've been attacked and attacked and attacked. Oh yeah, many times. I mean, when I was in Los Angeles, I used to ride my bike by the temple, and the police would pull me over with their police car. They would turn their lights on. They would pull me over, and the police would say, "Hey, you, get out of here! Don't you know these people want to kill you? Get your ass out of here!" So even the police knew that. But see, that was their problem. The police knew who I was. The police knew I was a target. The police knew if I would disappear or get killed, the police would know right away who is responsible. So that made it difficult for them to come after me. The police know, the FBI knows, and taking me out will be a big can of worms. That's the only reason they don't do it. But now it's too late. I mean, now, the cat's out of the bag. Too many people believe me. They believe Prabhupada was poisoned. They believe the children were molested. They believe that these guys are criminals. So I've got information. The information that I put out is too widespread now. Why didn't Harinam save Prabhupada? Well, why wasn't Jesus protected by his devotion to God? Why weren't the Pandavas protected? There's so many devotees who've been mistreated or killed over history, and it's just the way Krishna does things. I can't explain it, but we do know, and Prabhupada did say that just like Jesus was killed, they may kill me also. He said that. People in America believe poison thing, but not in India. Well, India is just always way behind everything. They didn't believe the molesting. They didn't believe poisoning. They didn't believe changing the books is a bad thing. In India, you have people worshiping Radhe Ma. So India is just, India's got to catch up. India has to catch up because India is just always slow to understand these problems. But I mean, I know a lot of Indians, in America, and I mean, my landlord was dating some Indian guy, and he was eating meat. My landlady was a Filipino lady, and she would, cook horrible, I don't know, who knows what she was cooking, and her Hindu boyfriend would eat all that stuff, so it was just terrible. But he told me, he would always tell me, you know more about India than I'll ever know. So that's a big problem. India is behind on so many levels because in India they're trying to become westernized, and Prabhupada said that. Prabhupada told me, he said, I have preached for 40 years here and with no result. Prabhupada personally told me that. So it's India is just a tough place because people are so desperate for money. Many people are just. So if Jayapataka gives people a salary, they're going to work for Jayapataka. Well, why did it happen to Prabhupada? Well, Prabhupada's astrological chart was read to him, and his chart said, you will live for 12 more years if you can live for the next 6 months, but beware of the next 6 months from juniors and subordinates. Okay. Who are the juniors? Who are the subordinates? That's the leaders around him. So his chart, his astrological chart said, yeah, you will live if you can survive the next 6 months. And the problem over the next 6 months is your juniors and subordinates. So that's why Prabhupada says, Jyoti Jana, my Jyotish knows. So he was asked, how do we understand this poisoning? And Prabhupada says, Jyoti Jana. That's how he answered that question. My Jyotish knows. So yeah, it's right there in his chart. You will live if you can survive an attack from your juniors. So Prabhupada knew that. He knew that. But Jesus also knew. Jesus knew, he's going to die. He knew that. But he's in the Garden of Gethsemane, and Jesus could have walked down from the garden and just walked away, and he would have lived. Even now, the Garden of Gethsemane has a big desert on the other side. So anybody can walk down from Gethsemane and into the desert and just walk away. But Jesus faced, he knew he would be executed. And Prabhupada knew these people are poisoning me. But he just said, I'm just going to surrender and let it up to Krishna. But, this will be recorded on tape. This will all come out eventually. Everybody will know later on. Krishna will treat them properly. Well, yeah, I mean, just look at Jai Pataka now. Look at Jai Tirtha got his head cut off. Kirtananda got beat over the head with a pipe. Satsarup has headaches all the time. Yeah, Krishna's already dealing with them, and it's just going to get worse. Worse and worse and worse. Yeah. Why are they still alive? It's a good question. But the funny thing is, when I got the name Paranjan, I says, Prabhupada, what is Paranjan? This was in 1970. Yeah, actually 1970. Prabhupada says, you'll find out everything later. And I said, oh, that could be bad, that could be good. You'll find out everything later. So then later, the story of Paranjan comes out. And in the story, it says, at the end of the story, it says, when the spiritual master departs, there's all kinds of chaos in the name of bogus swamis, yogis, and avatars. So I said, oh my God, there's going to be chaos after Prabhupada leaves. And the sincere person will have to rectify that. And I says, oh no, my name is Paranjan. After the spiritual master departs, there's all kinds of trouble. Somebody's going to have to sort that out. Is that going to be Paranjan? That's Paranjan, that's me. I'm going to be in big trouble because I'll be having to rectify all this chaos. So notice what Prabhupada said. You will find out everything later. Okay, and I did find out everything. I found out about the molesting later. I found out about the poisoning later. I did find out everything later. That is what he said. You will find out everything later. How did I come to Krishna? Well, in June of 1970, I had this old car, 1956 Chevrolet. That's how old time that was, a long time ago. And I was driving in Los Angeles. I had a job working in a boatyard. I was repairing boats, all millionaires' boats. So I was driving down Sunset Boulevard, and that's when all the hippies were really big at that time in Los Angeles, and they all went to Sunset area. So I was driving down the street, and I saw these people dressed in orange robes, and the ladies were dressed in saris, and they were chanting. It was just like maybe 20 devotees at the time. So I just stopped right on Sunset Boulevard. I just parked right in the middle of Sunset Boulevard. There was no parking zone, but I didn't care. I just stopped right on the red curb, and I ran up to those people, and I says, what is this? What are you doing? And they says, well, this is Hare Krishna. And they gave me their card, and it had the Hare Krishna mantra on there. And I said, I don't know what this is, but I am going to do this. I'm going to be doing that. And so then I went to the temple, and we had a little house on La Cienega Boulevard. There was just a little house. And there was like 70 devotees living in the house. It was just crowded with people. And I just spoke to this guy. I didn't know at the time. This was the crazy guy. This was the crazy temple guy. I wasn't supposed to talk to this guy. His name was Kanupriya. And I said, I want to join this temple. I want to be part of this. And he says, well, we don't have any room here. You can't live here. You can't join. I said, well, where do you have room? Where is there a temple I can go where you have room? He says, oh, well, we have a temple in San Francisco. We have plenty of room there. I said, oh, okay, well, I got to go to San Francisco. So I drove all the way to San Francisco in my old 56 Chevrolet, and I came to the temple there, and it was even worse. It was a smaller building, and there was even like more people. There was like 120 people. So it was more crowded there than Los Angeles. But I was very lucky because Prabhupada was going to come there. He was going to come visit there. So if I had been in LA, I would not have seen Prabhupada for some time. So anyway, there was like this double door thing on that temple. It was on Frederick Street in San Francisco. And I leaned over the door to try to hear Prabhupada. We didn't even have microphone and loudspeaker at the time, which is very, very simple situation, you know. So I could hardly even hear Prabhupada there. So I went across the street. This is the first time I saw Prabhupada. And I was sitting across the street. I was kind of not happy because I couldn't actually hear what he was saying. So I was sitting across the street, and Prabhupada came out of the temple, and he just kept looking over at me. And I kept looking at Prabhupada, and I just, that was it. I just connected with, I feel like I connected with Prabhupada at that time. And I just said, this person's going to be my guru. That's it. And that's what happened. And then a short time after that, maybe a few months, Prabhupada wrote a letter to all the temples, and he says, I need some people to come to India. And so they said, who wants to volunteer to go to India? So like nobody wanted to volunteer. But I said, I want to go. I'm ready. I want to go to India. So they sent me to India. That's how I went to India. And then I landed in Delhi and met Prabhupada there. And every morning we had like a little isti-gosti with Prabhupada. And he was like the temple commander, and he would say, oh, who's going to do this today? And who's going to do that today? What are you going to do today? So he was like organizing the whole, who's going to be cooking today? You know. So we didn't have a temple in Delhi at the time. We were staying at some bhavan. I can't remember. It was some bhavan or some kind of there. But shortly after I got there, that's when the Pakistan war started. And then, you know, people were thinking we were CIA agents. Things like that. It was a little crazy in India at that time. But we went all over. We went to Jaipur, and we went to Calcutta. We went to Mayapur, and that's where we met all the God brothers. And that was like a real important thing for me to see that, you know, to see how these God brothers. I'll never forget that, the God brothers, you know. So. And then we went to Vishakhapatnam. In Vishakhapatnam, there was a little Gaudiya Math temple. And there was B.V. Puri and a brahmachari named Ananda. They were the only two people running the temple. So we asked Prabhupada, it looks like all your temples, Gaudiya Math, there's just 2-3 really old people. He says, yeah, it's just old people, and they're fighting over the rooms. Who's going to occupy the room? So we were a little surprised, you know, the big Gaudiya Math mission, and in the end it was just these old men fighting over the property. And so Prabhupada told us over and over, don't let ISKCON become like this, you know, showing the deity, making a Hindu hodgepodge program. But that's exactly what they did. They just, you know, they did what the Gaudiya Math did, and they even went to Sridhar to make Sridhar the advisor, and Sridhar was the founder of this, you know, Gaudiya Math false guru program, and he was the big supporter of the GBC in 1978. And a lot of the papers that the GBC was producing at that time were actually the words of Sridhar. They just transcribed Sridhar's talks with the GBC and made that into their position papers. And Satsvarup was one of the big writers of those papers. Now recently, Satsvarup, just a couple months ago, he said, he says, I didn't want to write all those papers. They made me do it. The other GBC were making me write all these bogus papers. The other GBC made me do this. The other GBC made me... Wait a minute. No. They didn't make you. They didn't make me. I didn't have to do what they... You didn't have to follow what they said. You wanted to do, you know, their bidding because you were benefiting. You were benefiting from their whole system. So that's how a lot of the 1978, 79, 80, 81, 82 papers made by the GBC were made. They were made actually by Sridhar, and the GBC promoted, you know, his speaking as their document. And one thing that's a lot of people don't realize is those papers were never like pulled back or rescinded or modified, or they're still part of the GBC reports now. If you go to the GBC website where all the GBC reports, they still have the 78, 79, 80. All of Sridhar's words are still there as part of their documents. And then Narayan Maharaj helped them write the Guru Reform Notebook. In 1984, Narayan Maharaj was helping the GBC write papers. And those papers are still official GBC documents. They're not the words of Prabhupada, and they have nothing to do with Prabhupada. So, does anyone else have any other question? Well, my pastimes with Prabhupada is just so many things happened in India. I learned a lot about how to manage things by seeing how Prabhupada would personally manage. Very, very practical. He was very practical, and he was very frugal. He didn't want us to waste 2 paisa. If we would waste 2 paisa, he would not be happy, and he was against extravagant over expenses. But so I saw how he was very merciful to the ordinary people and to us. He tolerated a lot. I mean, we had a lot of fighting going on amongst our own people. It was like basically a clown show. All of us. And we had a sannyasi who was taking LSD and going crazy. His name was Devananda, and he really went crazy. And Prabhupada just kept, trying to help him and trying to recover and trying to get him back. And there was another sannyasi named Subal who was always going out eating Indian cookies that had eggs in them and everything. And it just, they kept complaining to Prabhupada, "Oh, Prabhupada, this Subal is..." And Prabhupada says, "Yes, but we have to tolerate it." So Prabhupada really tolerated a lot of our nonsense. But, unfortunately now, that everybody uses those examples to say, well, we should tolerate, if Lokanath is deviating, we should tolerate because Prabhupada, yeah, but wait. But Prabhupada wasn't tolerating guru deviation. He was tolerating us, neophytes, doing a lot of crazy things. I mean, Nanda Kumar, was Prabhupada's secretary, and Prabhupada caught Nanda Kumar several times having sex. Prabhupada went into the room, Nanda Kumar, having sex with some brahmacharini, But Prabhupada tolerated. So you can't say that Nanda Kumar was an acharya. He was tolerating the neophytes. Do I follow Ritvik? Yeah, well, Ritvik just means representative of the acharya. That's all. So yes, I'm a representative of the acharya. All neophytes, all of us, are representatives or agents. And Prabhupada used that term. He said, these are my agents, these are my representatives, these are officiating acharya. So I believe that all of us are acting in that capacity. And, I was very fortunate that I grew up in the church. In the church, everybody follows Jesus, is what they call a witness for Jesus. That means that person is supposed to preach on behalf of Jesus. And the priest is just, considered to be a scholar among all these. The clergy are supposed to be more advanced, but nobody thinks that the clergy is equal to Jesus. The clergy are scholars. So amongst all of us, the congregation, one person is selected to be, the representative, the priest. So that's the system Prabhupada wanted, that we, the congregation, would have a leader. He would be the temple president, he would be the Ritvik, he would conduct the puja, for the initiation ceremony. But that doesn't mean that the priest is as good as Jesus. That just means the priest is a representative. So yeah, I follow that idea. And that's the system Prabhupada wanted. We were going to be like the church. We were going to have priests. The priests were going to be more advanced than the congregation, but not infallible. And if the priest deviated, well, we got rid of the priest. That happened in my church. We had a priest who was drinking and, having sex with some lady, and so the church got rid of that guy and made a new priest. So that's the system. That's the system we should have. Radhanath's book, Radhanath's book really says it all. He's got all these pictures of Mayavadis in there and everything else. I mean, it's nonsense. The journey home is the journey where? It's the journey to nonsense. It's not an authorized book. Even Bhakti Vikas said that. We shouldn't be circulating this book in ISKCON. But Satsarupa's books, Hridayananda's books, they all make their own books, which are full of nonsense. They don't represent Prabhupada. In India, they say there's no Ritvik system. Yeah, okay, there's no Ritvik system in the scriptures, but there is worshiping child molesters, there is worshiping gays, there is worshiping drunks, there is worshiping alcoholic, pedophile, homosexual. Yeah, really? Is that right? So, no. you don't replace the Ritvik system with a bogus system. And apart from that, in India, there are many people who worship the Acharya. They worship Ramanuja, they worship Madhva. There may be a local guru or priest or something like that, but no one thinks that that local guy is equal to Madhva or Ramanuja. And if the local priest or guru deviates, let's say they find him with a bottle of wine, same thing. They make another guy the priest or the representative. They don't allow some deviant to be the representative. So they do follow the Ritvik system. They do not allow a deviating person to represent the Acharya. That's the Ritvik system. And that happens in India. In India, they sometimes complain about the local guru or the local priest, that he doesn't represent the Sampradaya. He's got to go. And he does go. And they replace him. So, but what is their system? Is their system a better system? Worshipping homosexuals is better than worshipping the Acharya? No, that's not a good replacement. You got a replacement. If Ritvik is bogus, you got to replace it with a superior system, and you're replacing it with a deviant system. Did Prabhupada ever show divine things? Well, it's hard to say. I can't really say. I mean, I did have experiences which I couldn't really express in words, where I felt like I was like floating to Vaikuntha at certain times, and I believe that was Prabhupada's arrangement or Prabhupada's mercy on me, and I think Prabhupada wanted me to have some experience so I would remember that experience, so that I would use that as an anchor to keep me, later on when there were problems or other things going on in my life, I would remember, oh wait, yeah, there's one time you were floating to Vaikuntha. So remember that. That's your anchor. That's going to keep you grounded, so you can go and face this army of bogus gurus and fight with them without any problem, because you're going to remember this experience, that nothing matters except this, experience. If you die, it's not a problem. So I think Prabhupada wanted me to have these experiences, a few divine experiences, where I felt very connected to Krishna, because that would be like my armor for the battle that I would be engaged later on. So yeah, India, they say there's no Ritvik system. What is your suggestion? That we worship Bhavananda, we worship Kirtananda, we worship Hridayananda, we worship Radhanath? That is superior to worshiping a pure devotee? Now, one thing is, what I said in the beginning was, you cannot offer boga to conditioned souls, because what you offer to takes the quality of what so like if you're offering food to Hansaduta, and Hansaduta is a gun crazy person, then the disciples of Hansaduta all started carrying guns because they were eating boga. They were worshipping the gun bij. You get the Bhakti Lata bij, or you get the gun bij, or you get the homosexual bij, or you get the pedophile bij. So when you worship the homosexual bij, you become influenced. If you worship the gun bij, so people were worshiping Bhavananda, and all of a sudden he had a whole bunch of gay boys around him, because that's the bij. And they were all wearing jewelry like Bhavananda, because that's the bij. So a lot of people don't understand this. You have to offer boga to a pure devotee. You have to worship a pure devotee, because that is where you get your bij. And if you get a contaminated bij, that contaminates everything you're doing. And I have a lady friend, and she used to be a witch. She used to be studying the witch, everything. And she said, in the witch doctrine, you offer food to Satan, and then that food becomes contaminated, and then the people who eat that become infected. That's how you infect people. That's how you take people down. You offer food to Satan, you give it to your enemies, and that hurts your enemies. So in ISKCON, they do that all the time. They offer the food to some pedophile, people eat that, and it affects those people. It affects their mentality. And that is one of the ways they brainwash people, because they're literally eating sin. They're eating pedophile beads when they eat every day. So it brainwashes people. And people don't understand how these subtle things work. That is the system. You have to worship a pure devotee. You have to offer the bhoga. So that was my first complaint. I said, you cannot offer the bhoga to Jayatirtha. It won't be accepted by Krishna. And what's going to happen instead is we're going to have people getting the Jayatirtha beads, and they're not going to be getting the Bhakti Lata beads. And that's what happened. Jayatirtha had all these people taking drugs around him. And it's exactly what happened. So, yeah, it's brainwashing on every level. You know, their preaching is brainwashing, and they're feeding people contaminated food. And this witch lady told me that was her explanation, that they do that on purpose. If we follow Prabhupada, can we experience Prabhupada being actually with us? Yes, I believe so. I do believe that. I mean, I'm preaching to new people, and I tell them, worship Prabhupada, and they're way more advanced than even the gurus of ISKCON. So I see that all the time. A lot of the people I preach to are more advanced than the ISKCON gurus. You know, so they're advancing because they're connected. So yes, I believe people can connect. Anybody could connect to Krishna, because Krishna is everywhere. We can't limit Krishna, and we can't limit Prabhupada. Prabhupada is available. And we see that everywhere around here. We see, if you drive around San Francisco, everywhere you see a bumper sticker on the car of the people, Jesus lives. Jesus lives. So even the Christians know that. Jesus lives. He's the guru. And he is eternal. It's an eternal principle. And we should follow the same principle. The guru is living. The guru is eternal. Anyone can connect with Jesus, and anyone can connect with Prabhupada. We can't limit the spiritual dimension. So Prabhupada left his books, and he said everybody can associate with me in my books. That's why he left the books. And he often said, the temples may fail, everything may fail, my books will remain, and I will live from my books. So he is living in his instructions, his Vani. So anyone can connect to that Vani. And our people are connecting better than most of the original disciples. Most of the original disciples of Prabhupada did not understand what he was talking about. If they did, they wouldn't have allowed all this crap to have taken over ISKCON. They didn't understand the Vani. They didn't listen. But we have new people who are listening, and they understand. But anyone can understand. I mean, when I was interviewed by CBS News in 1986, the news lady, she's not a devotee, she's not a Vedic scholar, she's just an ordinary lady. But she said, in your Bhagavad Gita, it says you have to fight for justice. Why aren't your people fighting for justice? Why aren't your people taking this Kirtananda off his seat? If Kirtananda was sitting on a seat in my church, I would take him off myself. So this lady, ordinary lady off the street, she understands Bhagavad Gita. She understands the Vani. That's the Vani of Krishna. You have to fight for justice. That's the instruction. And even she understands the instruction. So anyone can understand the instruction. It's open to anyone. I believe that. So yes, I believe anyone can connect with Prabhupada and Krishna. And even the police, in Berkeley, they said there was Prabhupada, and there was people who thought they were Prabhupada. They figured the whole thing out. And they're just the police. What to speak of us? We have much more direct information. We have all these books. So anyone can connect at any time. It's a question of desire. Do we really want to be connected? And the GBC, they're trying to make roadblocks, but they're just mundane people. The 11 gurus, they all failed on every level, and they disappointed Prabhupada, and then the followers didn't follow through. They could have said, hey, we can't allow all this. We're going to stop this, but they didn't follow through. So it was just one big collapsing thing after the other, and now it's up to us to pick up the pieces. and try to move forward. And then we'll get the credit. It's just like the battle of Bhagavad Gita. If you fight, you get the credit. You get the credit for taking up Krishna's battle, and it's a battle. We're battling with all these illusory people. Well, yeah, thanks, Prabhu. I'm just glad that I survived, and I was able to give people this history, and I believe Prabhupada, when Prabhupada said you'll find out everything later, I think he wanted me to survive. He wanted this. He wanted the poison to come out. He wanted everything to come out so that people would understand the history. Madhvacharya says, whoever understands the itihas properly is eligible for liberation. And that's correct. We have to understand the history. And this is the history. This is the history. But it's a history of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. All kinds of people didn't like what he was doing. They opposed him. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, there are so many Sahaja groups. I should write about all of them to expose them. But it would take too much endeavor to write about all the different bogus Sahaja. So I will just take 13 of the most prominent and write about them. So that was imagine his situation. He was surrounded by all these bogus Sahaja groups. He says, I don't even know where to start. So that was Bhaktivinoda. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, same thing. The Brahmanas opposed him, didn't approve, tried to stop him. So he had to build what he could with what he had. And then Prabhupada. Everyone was opposing Prabhupada. The Brahmins, the God brothers, and now we're the same. My God brothers opposed me, just like Prabhupada's God brothers opposed him. So it's just history repeating. That's why Madhvacharya says you have to understand history, because then you know your own history. That's your history. Your history. You're part of all this history. And if you know history, then you'll know your part, your role, your situation. You'll know where you fit and everything. And even this television show people, they said, oh, so many people wanted to kill you, but you were able to survive so you could come on our television show. That means maybe this is some divine thing that was supposed to happen. Even the television says, oh, it's a miracle that you survived and you can come on our show. So even they understand that. This is like a historical situation, and I know the history, and it's important for people to know the history.
So Hare Krishna, so it was...
Oh, wow, okay.
It was great, Prabhu. So thank you very much, Prabhu.
Okay. Thanks for welcoming me, and I'm very glad I have this opportunity to speak to people.
Haribo!
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 Haribo! All right, Prabhus. Well, thank you very much. Everybody just has to, put Prabhupada in the front and march forward and just do what we can. That's all we can do.
It's a long battle.
It is.
But eventually, it may take time, but, the golden age is there, so it has to rectify and come back.
Yeah, it is happening. I have a lot of people reading my sites and asking good questions. People are waking up all over the place. It's taking time, but it is definitely moving forward.
I think, these 3-4 important gurus, when they leave, I think the whole ISKCON will crash down. Rajnath Swami, Jai Pataka, Gopal Krishna, the India project will collapse after them. I think that. Because the second tier after them is, basically all Bengalis and, all those kind of people. They are right now fighting only. They're like goons kind of people.
Yeah,
they can't manage. They can't manage.
Yeah.
Like, Gopal Krishna and all.
Yeah, it'll just go like the Gaudiya Math. It'll just dwindle down and have little program, 2-3 people here and there, and it'll just go the same direction. That's true.
Yeah. Okay, Prabhu.
All right. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Haribo.
Yeah. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Yeah.
So I got a little bit of feedback from the part 1 video where someone complained that I was attacking Bhagavan's daughter. I shouldn't be attacking a person who has all kinds of problems like her. And I'm sorry if that's the impression people got, but Bhagavan's daughter is just one example of thousands of children of ISKCON who were misinformed. They were told Prabhupada wants 11 conditioned souls to be worshipped as gurus. Prabhupada wants you to go to Sridhar Maharaj. Prabhupada wants you to go to Narayan Maharaj. Prabhupada wants this, that, and the other, when Prabhupada never wanted any of these things. So she is a victim, and I'm sorry if the impression was created that I'm attacking the victims. That's definitely not what I would want to do. But she's an example. She is simply one of thousands of children who got the same misinformation, and it created chaos in their lives. So I feel very bad for her. She's suffering, I agree, and so are most of the other children who live around here in the Bay Area, San Francisco area. There's many ex-ISKCON children. They're fried with ISKCON. They don't participate. They don't like ISKCON. Some of them hate ISKCON. Some of them eat meat as a protest to ISKCON and all that. So they got a very bitter situation from ISKCON. So whose fault is that? It's the fault of the leaders of ISKCON and many of the parents. And in the case of Bhagavan, he was a leader and a parent at the same time. So he totally misinformed his own children to their peril, and they have suffered as a result. And that's very sad, but that is what happened. And right now I am in a kind of a debate with an old devotee, Prabhupada devotee, who is unhappy that his name was mentioned on my blog, and he's criticizing now that I have a tendency to draw a line in the sand and make things black and white, and he doesn't like that. He thinks there's many kind of gray areas that I am missing. But when I tell him, hey, here's the situation, the GBC is promoting pedophiles as gurus. Either we agree with that or we don't. He seems to think that's some kind of a gray area. No, it's not a gray area. It is black and white. If you ask any person walking down the street, are pedophiles the successors to God? No. No. So this is a question any ordinary person can answer immediately. Why can't he answer? Where's the gray area? What's the problem? So this has been the problem that I've been dealing with all along. A lot of the senior devotees, leaders, and people like him. He's an important figure in ISKCON. He hangs out with the leaders all the time. But he can't make a determination what is right and what is wrong. So Srila Prabhupada explains this in the Bhagavad Gita, that the people in the modes of ignorance, they cannot distinguish good from evil, right from wrong. They don't know what is right, what is wrong. Whereas even an ordinary person knows right away, uh-oh, this is wrong, uh-oh, this is right. They know. And I'm having a conversation with another person who's in a foreign land. He's a Hindu, and he goes to ISKCON, and he's saying the same thing. Even the ordinary people have better discrimination than most so-called advanced devotees at his temple. The advanced devotees don't know. Is a pedophile Krishna's successor, yes or no? They don't know. They can't answer the question. And they get angry if you even ask the question. But any ordinary person knows the answer right away. No. Pedophiles, deviants, drunks are not Krishna's successors. But it's even worse when we consider that this advanced devotee, supposedly, that I'm talking to, says he was personally trained by Prabhupada. He knows what Prabhupada wants. Really? Why are you implicating Prabhupada in all this stuff? No, Prabhupada never said that he wanted deviants to be worshipped as Krishna's successors. You are not trained by Prabhupada to be promoting fools and deviants and pedophiles as gurus. This is not the training that Prabhupada gave you. Why are you even mentioning Prabhupada's name in this regard? This is your idea. You want to promote deviating people as gurus. What does this have to do with Krishna or Prabhupada? Now, another thing I've discussed quite a bit, and some people think I've overdone it, is that the GBC gurus originally claimed that they were taking people's sins, and because they were taking sins, they were falling down and having all these problems. And so I've had to explain over and over again that yes, as a matter of fact, they are taking people's sins. Prabhupada says if we let people touch our feet, we'll be taking their sins, we'll be acting as a Diksha Guru, and if we do that, we will get sick, fall down, or both. And many of them died prematurely. So, yes, some of the reasons for these catastrophic failures of these gurus is that they have, in fact, become overwhelmed by taking sins from their followers. And Prabhupada says there's a guru who took the sins of his disciples, but he wasn't qualified. And Prabhupada says the guru must have the Brahmana Tejas to burn off the sins, otherwise they stick to the guru. So this guru took the sins of his followers, and the followers, when they went to Yamaraj's planet after they died, they were very angry because their guru had not taken their sins as he had promised. So Yamaraj made the disciples into ants, and he made the guru into a snake, and the snake went over the anthill, and the ants ate the snake body of the guru. So the guru was literally eaten alive by the disciples as a revenge for his promise to take sins without being able to take them. So this is a big issue that a lot of devotees have tried to avoid, that these so-called Diksha Gurus in ISKCON, now they're making women into Diksha Gurus also, they're taking sins from other people, and they will be overwhelmed by those sins because they do not have the potency to absolve or absorb those sins. So there has been a sort of epidemic of disciples of ISKCON getting cancer, and I've put up many fundraising efforts for cancer victims from ISKCON. And I have a friend who is a nurse. She's not a devotee, she's a Mormon actually, but she thinks there's an epidemic of cancer going on in ISKCON. When I show her all these reports of all these people getting cancer, she said this is not normal. And many of these devotees are 60 or just a little over 60, and a number of them are not even near 60. They're 39, they're 40, and they're getting cancer. So she thinks there's a big problem because she says cancer patients, normal people, who eat meat and smoke cigarettes and all that stuff, they don't get cancer normally at such a younger age as devotees, and if they do get some kind of cancer, they usually survive much longer than the devotees seem to be surviving. So this is another problem that people don't understand. The devotees who are getting cancer are getting some kind of a reaction, or their sins weren't taken, or they're eating food offered to bogus people, and that's contaminating their bodies. If you offer food to a contaminated person, you're just literally eating sin. Prabhupada says that if you're eating unoffered food, you're eating sin. So what if you're offering the food to a sinful person? That's going to amplify the sinful reaction. So this nurse believes, and I also believe, that many devotees are getting a reaction, and cancer is one of the reactions to having a bogus guru and offering food to the bogus guru and thinking your bogus guru is going to take your sins when he is not taking your sins. And Srila Prabhupada says Jesus is still taking the sins of his sincere followers now, even though 2,000 years has transpired. So that means only the pure devotee is qualified and capable of absorbing the sins of the fallen living entities, and trying to make another fallen living entity capable of taking sins is never going to work. The fallen living entities have no capacity to absorb sins from others. For example, some time ago, Jayaveda Swami said he's taken too many sins and he doesn't want to take any more because it's causing him suffering and grief. So he made his disciple, Kadamba Kanan Swami, became the new Diksha Guru of ISKCON, and he was now taking sins from all kinds of people. But he has terminal cancer now, according to himself. So I don't think that people are really getting it. You can't just make some neophyte into a karma vacuum cleaner who can just take lots of karma. It doesn't work, and it's causing all kinds of problems. Now, some new guy just found one of my videos, and he was really fired up, real excited, and he started asking me all kinds of questions, good questions. But I can't go over everything over and over again, so I told him, you got to just go to my blog, Krishna1008, blogspot.com, or my other site, harikrishna.org, and study some of this stuff and then get back to me later. I can't review everything over and over again. And I'm an old dog, and I've got one foot in the grave and the other foot on a banana peel. So I'm not going to be here forever, and I hope people start to understand these things and bring these things forward on their own without needing my endeavor or effort. And one thing I've always thought about is if people couldn't understand Prabhupada, why would they understand me or what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things. People have to take their own initiative. They have to study these issues. They have to study Prabhupada's books. They have to study what is Krishna saying and come to the right conclusion. And they may or may not get help by myself or someone else. It's all there. It's all in the books. It's all in Krishna's instructions. Krishna says the Guru has to be as pure as myself, and that's all there is to it. There's no shortcut or no way to deviate from what Krishna says and orders. Every attempt to shortcut and change what Krishna says ends in failure and disaster and takes people down. They don't understand. It takes you down to a lower planet. You're not allowed to modify Krishna's instructions and modify his standard for Acharya and so on and so forth. It doesn't work, won't work, and it will lead to your disaster and your family's disaster and your society's disaster and ultimately the whole world's disaster. Everything will just become a disaster if people just try to be independent from Krishna. It doesn't work, and it makes things worse. The more you struggle to be independent, the more trouble you get into, and we just see that over and over and over, and ISKCON is a good example of how that works. Now, there are people who write and tell me they think the ISKCON leaders are residents of hell, and they've come from hell to planet Earth to take people back to hell with them. What do I think? Well, I think that's a good question, and if you even have to ask that question, there might be a big problem. And other people have told me that they are Atmahana, killers of the soul, and so many things. So they're being cursed and condemned all over the place by all kinds of people. So I'm not the only person who's on their case. There's all kinds of people waking up and wondering, who are these people and what are they trying to do? So I do think that the overall situation is waking up. More people are waking up. More people are realizing the Guru must be a pure devotee. These people are not gurus. They somehow or other overtook ISKCON by cheating techniques, and now it's all catching up to them. Individually, collectively, ISKCON is in trouble, and it won't get out of trouble until they go back to square one and start to reestablish the worship of the Acharya as he intended. Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Haribol.